Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1. Hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream, now I'm on Web 3.
What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Web3 Weekly Alpha. It's your host, Serpunk, where we go over everything that happened within the last week in the digital renaissance. We're covering crypto news, everything that happened with the Ledger saga. Also, the NFT news this week is huge with the Pudgy Penguins ecosystem. We have a special guest on who's deep in the Pudgy ecosystem to tell us a little bit more about what's going on there. And of course, we'll be going over any charts and prices for NFTs and crypto. So go ahead, sit back, relax as we go into the wonderful world of Web3. We'll be starting off with the charts. Bitcoin and Ethereum here. We got the weekly pulled up for Bitcoin. More sideways action, as you could just see here. We're stuck within this smaller range, within the wider range. It's still holding the 200-week moving average. If we can get back above this line and start heading more towards the trend line here, maybe we can try to retest this area. But for now, it's just kind of holding towards the bottom of the range, and thinking maybe we lean more towards retesting this area. But nonetheless, it's not massive moves that I'm expecting here, because we've kind of established range. An interesting chart with the Bitcoin conference that just happened last week. You can see here that every time it's happened, we've either gone down or sideways down. So is this a repeatable pattern? I don't know, but I think it was an interesting take here by Jake. Thanks, Jake, for the chart. So let's keep an eye out for that. Looking at Ethereum, Ethereum's also been going sideways for weeks on weeks. It is in a tighter overall range. I think we need to get above or below one of these lines to get more of a bigger move in either direction. But right now we're just sitting on our hands and seeing what we're going to do. Moving on into the NFT charts, also with the leaders, Bored Ape Yacht Club. Bored Ape Yacht Club broke support a couple weeks ago. We know that, and that 0.50 ETH mark. It stayed below it. The longer it stays below, the more worrisome. We really want to get back above that level, but so far not much demand coming back in. Similar thing with Mutants, where it broke that 10 ETH mark, and now for 3 weeks in a row, it stayed below there. We really want to see that get bought back up above that level, because it's always good to have the leaders going in the direction that we're playing the market. And in this case, Bored Ape Yacht Club, Mutant Ape. Moving on to Captains, which has been one of the stronger ones, still continues to hold up after a massive breakout last week on some of the news that we covered on previous show about Captains. And we're getting a normal pullback, but I think that was some pretty good volume coming in on that. And for now, let's see if it wants to continue that uptrend. We still have the reveal to look forward to, and the coin drop, the meme coin. So see if they continue to run it up into that. Let's look at Azuki here. Azuki's been sideways as well for a while now. It can't get above this 15 ETH mark with confirmation and conviction, but it does have support here. So I think until, kind of like Ethereum and Bitcoin, until we can get above one of these lines, we're not going to get much of a big move in either direction. Pudgy Penguins had massive news this week, super bullish. The market thinks so as well. It was the opposite of a sell the news event. It went up after the news, which you don't see often in NFTs. That's how good this news is. And I think it's the kind of news that could create a kind of a ripple effect of better news down the road. And the market is agreeing with that thesis. So it did come down to this super incredibly strong support of 4 ETH. Multiple times got below it, but it kept quickly recovering. That's what we want to start seeing in the Bored Ape Yacht Club Mutant chart. But here, quickly recovered, news came out, and then just kind of bounced heavily off of that support level. We'll be jumping more into that news. Opepin has been revealing some of their art. The early editions of Series 1 are selling for, I think, a now above 10 ETH floor. I think there's like 80 of them within each series. We'll be going over how exactly it works, because it could be a little confusing in the new mint section. But people are getting incredibly bullish on Opepin within the last week or so, and you can see reflected on the price. Once it recovered the support, it just took off. And it's normal to get a pullback here, but people are really scooping up and paying high ticket prices for some of these early additions in the Neopepin ecosystem. We'll be coming over that later, like I said. Moving on to On One Force is another one that's showing some real good strength while everything's been sideways or weak. And you had a pretty solid bounce here after just down only after that sell the news event of the group taking over the entire project that they bought out. And there's some good news that's been coming out recently, and the market's been liking that. You know, the franchise news that we went over last week, their partnership with Horizon Labs. So that's been some strength there. And it's good to see you were starting to see some strength in certain projects. Check's not getting as much strength as Opepin. It's kind of sticking with Opepin for now, and but possibly we're bottoming. We had multiple weeks of support, and we're kind of relief rallying or bouncing for now. We'll see how that works out in the next couple of weeks. DeGods had a good bounce. Looks like Blur Farmers just kind of dumped it, and now we're just holding sideways. So kind of neutral. Nothing too crazy happening with this chart here. Wrap CryptoPunks, they've been down for weeks. It tried to bounce back above that 50 mark, gave it all back, and over the last 4 or 5 weeks, it's been holding this support area here. I don't know if this is the bottom. As we remember, the long-term chart still has it at like 42 to 45 ETH. But if we start to recover across the board here, then love to get back above the 50 mark and see if there's some strength. Milady's we know has been up only for weeks. It kind of had a blow off top into that Elon news where he tweeted about the project. But then we tried to get above that 5 ETH mark, but now for 3 weeks in a row, we've attempted to get above it, and we just haven't been able to close there. Now we're getting a reversal, so which is kind of expected. As you're up so many weeks in a row, you're gonna need to pull back at some point, right? I mean, we went from 2 to 7 ETH, just pretty much up only. You know, nothing goes up forever, so I think a pullback here does make sense, and letting it rest. But I did read a very interesting Milady. Shout out to my boy Shandi, who tagged me in this crazy thread about Miladies and the reason why people buy into Miladies and what their community is about. I never, up until I read this, I never understood what they were about, why people bought them. And honestly, I thought they were a bunch of weirdos. And they are a bunch of weirdos, but they're basically just counterculture. People who are against generalization of today, you know, the world. And Miladies likes to go against mainstream and kind of attack some of your beliefs, and that's the kind of group that it attracts. And it's counterculture, you know, odd people sometimes, but hey, there's a community for everybody in Web3. But I encourage you to read this thread so you can have a better understanding of Milady's. And this is kind of a good explanation here. Milady has intrinsic value because it solves a coordination problem for those you find upsetting. That's Milady's. So it's a unique group, but they got money. Let's take a look at Pepe chart here. We had a little dead cat bounce here a couple weeks ago, covered it, and I still don't think there's much of a directional price move coming until we break to it either direction. Some people are getting a little bit bullish on this bounce, but it was a little premature. But I mean, if Bitcoin and Ethereum pull back here, all coins continue to go down, I still find it hard for this to have a big move. So just be careful out there with that. I think this is a good tweet here by Alex, who is the founder of Nansen, where he says, when there are fundamentals, the token gets priced at the floor of it. When there are no fundamentals, sky's the limit. And I think that's how you see moves like this, right? Because there's no utility, no fundamentals for Pepe. It's just really, oh, this narrative is incredible. Who wouldn't want to buy? And then it could just kind of get ahead of itself. So great thought there by Alex. All right, I know we talked a little bit about Ben.eth, the Ben coin, PsyOps coin last week. We're gonna finish covering what's happening there because I don't think that saga is gonna last much longer after this. This guy probably, most likely, will be doing some jail time based on what he's pulled so far. But People has just been loving it, making a bunch of everyday art after Ben and the whole saga. And let's get a little bit more into this. So we finally got the actual release of the coin for PsyOps, which Ben.eth was his project after the Ben coin drop that Ben Armstrong took over. So, but it's not worked out very well for people. If you sent 10 ETH to the Ben.ETH to participate in the pre-sale psyops, you can only get 1 ETH back at present. You're instantly down like 90% on your money, which just, I've never seen something like this. Oh, shout out to Crypto Finally, where he says he collected $7 million, talking about Ben.ETH. He created a liquidity pool with 400,000 liquidity. He still has over 3,000 Ethereum in his personal wallet and is adding to the LP 20,000 at a time. You got rugged. So pretty much, yeah, right. So he's basically scamming people out of their money. It's not really worked out. Here's Luis visuals where he says, I bought 1 ETH, I got 16 coins, my 1 ETH is now worth 0.0001. Can anything be done? Which is actually the copy pasta of the week. But apparently, Sholmes, who is one of the popular performance artists in the space, Ben.ETH sent him a DM and said, hey man, I'm sure you saw that the SAOS play didn't really work out. Wonder if you can help me frame this whole thing as a performance art. Let me know your rate. This guy posted it, didn't even reply, and everybody's now kind of like, holy shit, can't believe this guy did that. But just a bunch of shenanigans happening. What else is new in Web3? Also, the dev who initially worked on the PsyOps contract, Vaidamo, who's worked on some big projects in the space, he said he's never worked with someone so unprofessional or deranged, and due to this, he left the team before even receiving a payment. And he had incredible evidence. He illustrated that all in a thread that you can read. But then somebody came out on Twitter and said they were lawyers and they were suing Ben.ETH, and they sent him a letter. And I think some people have been sending him cease and desist via the blockchain, via an NFT. But then Ben responded with his own letter, which is actually quite funny. And I don't know if this guy's just nuts, or if he just has no heart, or it's just that cold-blooded. But either way, the fact that he's making jokes that his lawyers are going after him and knows he's probably going to go to jail is just kind of wild to me. But either way, that's happening in shitcoin land. I do think this whole saga marks the top of shitcoins. Hopefully, that lowers gas and brings a little bit more volume back into NFTs. I need to read this because NFT Llama, this project raised millions of dollars during the bull market. He's the founder of the project. And and nothing against him, but it can be frustrating. I understand that for many of us. But he just tweeted this a couple of days ago, and he said, you are dumb if you think it's a good idea to burn more resources in the space when there's no clarity if we will ever see another bull run. We're just trading money back and forth to each other over and over again. If we see mass adoption, what we call NFTs. So for the first time, he's really expressing some real frustration here as a founder of a project, which you don't normally see, right? Because you just should keep building and forget about the market environment. But these are the kind of things that you see at the bottom of the market, where even founders become frustrated. People start throwing the towel in, and I think these are the kinds of signs that we're seeing. Also, it looks like, and thank you, Sam, NFT Statistics, where when we looked at the charts, you can see that some charts are starting to bounce. And this is another illustration of his mid-cap PFP index, where you're starting to see some sort of bottoming action after we've been down and down and down for months, that at some point, nothing goes up, nothing goes down forever. So hopefully this is starting to round off a bottom. It doesn't mean we're going to go right back up to all-time highs. Probably have a nice little move and go sideways, and then, at least just not lower for now. And another positive thing for NFTs is gas prices are down. It looks like the whole PsyOps coin thing was the top, and people are not trading shitcoins as much. As you can see, Pepe's down as well. So shout out to Hildabi and NFT Statistics for sharing this chart. You love to see it. Some news with Blur, with their blend announcement, is Bored Yacht Club is now able to borrow, and you can also buy now, pay later. So just slowly adding more collections on there, mostly just blue chips. And also the founder, Pac-Man, hinted that, or basically confirmed that they're doing trait bidding next as the feature dropping on the platform. So a lot of people have been complaining that Grails have been losing a ton of their value because there's no trait bidding on Blur, and everybody's treating NFTs as floor prices. And hopefully this trait bidding brings a little bit more of a, like a difference in the floor and grail prices, and allows them to become non-fungible a little bit more, which I think would be great. I thought this was cool. Shout out to Milady on Twitter for sharing this, where he shared the top NFTs by volume on OpenSea in 2018, and it's completely different than what it is now. And probably, by the end of this bear market in the beginning of the next bull, this list will probably be different. I don't know how different, but it just goes to show you that when we're really early, you don't know if you can get too confident on certain projects, because things can change rapidly. So keep your mind on that. And is Bored Ape and Mune Ape going to lead the next bull? Nobody really knows. All right, we know Ordinals have been having their moment. We've been covering them consistently because people consistently build on Bitcoin blockchain with ordinals and BRC20s we talked about last week. The volume's been taken off, but now some of that is spilling over into the Dogecoin and Litecoin ecosystems. As you can see here, Misha Bor says daily Dogecoin transactions have skyrocketed, surpassing Bitcoin, and so as well as Litecoin transactions due to folks trying to cram DRC20 standard. The whole BRC20 or RC20 standard on these other blockchains, and volume's kind of skyrocketing. So not sure if that's going to have any legs as much as the Bitcoin ERC20, BRC20 has had legs. But you are seeing some action over there for the ordinal punks, at least. They recently sold for 3 and close to 3.5 Bitcoin. So it's very interesting. I think it's not just a fad. We've seen weeks on weeks on weeks of constant action, constant new protocols, and even the Bitcoin conference hosting NFTs and ordinals just this last week. And even the leader of the Bitcoin Maxis, Michael Saylor, his company says, MicroStrategy, they're going to be looking at building Bitcoin ordinals, Bitcoin ordinal apps, which that could be interesting, right? We're now starting to see some big players build some serious infrastructure for these kinds of things, which could help that really take off even more than what it already has. So let's jump into some large sales this week, as we did have some, and we also began the Sotheby's auction for the 3AC collection. Was they paid up for, and what was the most interesting thing from this is that they actually didn't lose that much money, even though they bought at the Pico top. So we'll go into that. But to start off, we had the gold ape right here with the nice robe, the Hugh Hefner look. It sold for, as you can see here, 530 ETH, almost $1 million. Of course, who else? Free Lunch Capital. This guy has been paying top dollar for grails in the NFT space the last several weeks. We know he paid top dollar for this DGod NFT. He's now paying up for this one. So a big purchase there. And to compare that to some of the other gold ape buy statistics for that, a nice illustration, but it's not even in the top 4. And I really just think it's the market environment. With this bear market, it's going to be hard to fetch those kinds of prices. So did he get a deal? Possibly. He paid, and this, I honestly think his is even better than the Crazy Eyes, and he paid below that. So shout out to everybody involved there. This Fidenza, the biggest sale of the Christie's auction this week, was sold for $1 million, even though the Fidenza floor is at 52 ETH, as you can see here, $72,000. Huge markup price for this, and some of these are even selling for 42 ETH below floor. So when you can buy a floor Fidenza for 42 ETH, and some people are paying $1 million, I know this one's extremely aesthetically pleasing. It's very unique, and people are considering it a rare due to that. What makes it so much more expensive? I don't know. People just want this specific Fidenza, and they're willing to pay what they want for it. And shout out to Nikolai, who runs Deep NFT Value, where great illustration of the biggest Fidenza sales within the last couple of months. And as you can see here, the biggest ones are really the 350 to 380 ETH. And this one went for a pretty decent markup above that, I think around 500 ETH. So You could see that was a pretty successful auction drop for Sotheby's, and you know, getting some bull market vibes, man. People paying up for some of these things, which we need. This is what we need to kick off another season. But it looks like it was actually bought for $800,000, but when you add in the Sotheby's fees, it's for $1 million, which is a pretty hefty fee. But I'd love to see it. This is another Fidenza sale that was done during the Christie's auction, not nearly for the same premium, but it was sold for 133 ETH. And as you can see here, it's kind of an interesting one with the white and beige, $241,000. Another ringer sold during the Christie's auction, $95,000 for 52 ETH. CryptoPunk sold for 91 ETH, 165,000. So, I mean, this one's a pretty cool one with the well-known red and blue glasses in the CryptoPunk community. And also, we're going to be talking about Jack Butcher, because Jack Butcher continues to be the meta in the space with his OPEP and drop. But not only his OPEP and drop in his Christie's auction coming up, some of that bullishness is starting to spill off into his visualized value NFTs that he did way back, that people were not paying nearly this price for. But since he's blown up, people are going back and securing some of his previous work, which is honestly very interesting. And his designs are always very unique. As you can see here, gold bar and then the ETH address to kind of fit in that same style, and 10 ETH, and then this one sold for 4.6 ETH. So just congratulations to Jack and the people buying these. If he continues to do his thing, I could see these continue to go up in price. Huge loss here for the original buyer of this 101D God, where he got hacked and the hackers sold this DGOD immediately for 99 ETH. As you can see here, $177,000. This is the only one of one in the DGOD's ecosystem. So it's literally the rarest NFT, the rarest DGOD. And you hate to see it. This still continues to be a problem in the space. Also, this rare MFer sold for 29 ETH this week. The Suzuki, we've seen much bigger sales, but at least we got a 27 ETH sale for this blue Azuki. And OPEPin, as we were talking about earlier when we were looking at the NFT chart, we just had an all-time high for the Series 1 OPEPin for over an 11 ETH sale here. As you can see, it now costs over 12 ETH to get any OPEPin from the first release pack, and only 8 are listed. Huge bullish news happening here. And I mean, I'm really interested to see how the rest of the packs do. I know this is the first one, so the rest probably won't have as good of a premium, but people are really loving this. And I really do think it's a fun project. Thanks to Burrs, right? Because he created this illustration to really break down how these packs work. It could be a bit confusing. So essentially, there's a supply of 16,000. There's 200 sets, and there's 80 sets per, and 80 NFTs per set. And they include 6 pieces of art. So we know that some of the meta for the OPEPins is they're really embracing AI art, as you can see here. Also, you can see that they all kind of represent a different piece to the OPEPin kind of art framework, 40, 20, 10, 5, 4, 1. And the different art pieces I align with that, which makes up the 80 NFTs per set. Moving on into new mints this week. The Bitcoin frogs are the talk of the week on the Bitcoin blockchain, but not even just the Bitcoin blockchain. They did 1.6 million in volume, 52 Bitcoin, which makes them the #1 NFT project in volume on any chain. Not forget just Bitcoin, Solana, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Polygon. They made it to the top of the ranks above all others. So pretty interesting stat here for a Bitcoin project to do that. And they're one of the original projects. They're not a PFP copy pasta from a different ecosystem. It's all Bitcoin built and related and paid for. And they're really trying to be like the first Bitcoin native 10K PFP project. So shout out to them. Speaking about the Jack Butcher's Christie drop, A little bit more about it. It's called Chex Elements. So it's going to be water, fire, earth, that sort of theme. They're going to be doing physical prints for the people who actually purchase from the auction, as you can see here. And a little bit more details is that the rest of the collection will be available 24 hours after the Christie's auction on 5/23, and then 6 consecutive auctions will start on 5/24, beginning with completes and then ending with the last alpha element, fire. And also, he's giving a little treat. 2 owners of Chex, Opepin and VV1s, one of ones will receive Infinity Check and that's for bidders editions for each auction tier they participate in. And 1 check collectors will receive a full set of editions, whether they participate or not, as well those who participate in Alpha and Christie's auction. So 1 check collector is getting that additional utility here for being huge collectors in the Jack Butcher ecosystem. Love to see it. Also, the auction's already live, and people are already starting to pay over 10 ETH for this. So I honestly didn't know what the demand was going to be for this, but it's actually been quite impressive right out of the gate. And we know that towards the end of the auction is when you usually get higher bids. People like to wait. So the fact that it's already here at these prices towards the beginning is quite bullish. WAGMI Sun. So just an update here in case you're in the ecosystem or want to be. Next week, Thursday, begins 3 p.m. On May 25th. Where the final opportunity to burn your G tags. You'll have to have 7 APE and enough ETH for gas fees. During this week's recycling event, users will be able to burn a Genesis property 10K ETF item for a G tag and a blank item. Users can find these Genesis items by searching the 10K ETF collection. So these are what they look like. So you burn one of these Genesis, and you'll be able to get the G tag, which is confirmed by WAGMI Sun and 10K ETF that it will be the PFP for the WAGMI Sun ecosystem. So put that on the schedule if you're interested. Shout out to Anonymous, where really cool insight here actually for an X copy one of one called 5 Eyes. The reserve is 199 ETH. It was fractionalized back in 2021 on the site of Super Rare, and also on but it was vaulted on fractional Tessera for 18 months. Meeting the reserve bid will trigger a 72-hour auction. The winning bidder receives 100% ownership of the Super Rare token and has 0 affiliation with the fractional Tessera going forward. Right, so it just becomes its own full NFT for 1 owner. A little history on this. Thank you to Anonymous. What he says, what is 5 Eyes? Well, the origins of the 5 Eyes can be traced to informal secret meetings during World War II between British and American code breakers. 5 Eyes is an intelligence alliance comprising of Australia, Canada, New Zealand, the UK, and the USA. And he says, do you see the symbolism? Yeah, right. So pretty cool. I mean, X copy. So he's legend in space. There's really not much more to say about X copy. So take a look out for that. Also, 2 goats in the space, no pun intended, Gary Vee and Beeple, teamed up for a drop for their ecosystems. So they're collaborating for the Gift Goat, number 12. This partnership unites 2 collector communities, offer them exclusive Beeple-designed NFT. This one right here, quite creepy, and it's coming with a distinct physical collectible. I don't know if you're getting like an actual collectible of this, which would be actually kind of hilarious, but it's expected to be delivered in fall of 2023, meticulously designed by people. And upon the drop of this to holders, the floor is already at 0.88 ETH, which is one of the cheapest entry points for a Beeple NFT. As we know that the Beeple Everyday NFTs are at 8.99 ETH, which is a big difference. And also the VFriend Gift Goats maintain a 7.9 ETH floor, and this is what the Gift Goats look like. So shout out to those guys. Love when communities cross market and collaborate to reward their holders. Heavy Metal by Yuga Labs was revealed this week. As you can see here, I took a snapshot of a few of them. I'm a fan. There was controversy. There always is for art. Some people love it. Some people hate it. Some people are neutral about it. And I kind of like it. It's sort of simple, but they're all very different looking. And there's 28,000 of them, so it did onboard a ton of people into the Yuga ecosystem. And if you're wondering who got these, well, shout out to snip.eo, he says, sewer passes that played the game at least once were able to register a score and could redeem one of these, and he's referring to the game Dookie Dash. So if you haven't done that, I believe you possibly still can, and they just revealed and they have a 180 floor. And some of the top sales, once they were revealed, and you can see the rarity, people started sniping them. The highest one went for 17.79 ETH. Shout out to NFT Statistics for the illustration. And another one for 11.7. So some high sales there. Not too many, but let's go ahead and jump into the Pudgy's news. This was the biggest news by far, not only this week, but in my opinion, months in the Web3 NFT space. And let's jump right in. So they say, we are thrilled to release the community licensed first edition Pudgy toys to the world. Purchase Pudgy toys here and adopt your forever Pudgy penguin. I was so excited I rushed to order mine. But there's a twist here. Every toy comes with a digital experience. You go to pudgyworld.com/home, an experience that gives the non-NFT public their very first blockchain wallet, a soul-bound NFT, which is your forever Pudgy, and tradable traits, all in one simple sign-up with an email address. Included in each toy, you get literally a physical birth certificate that unlocks a unique trait box from Season 1 of Pudgy World. Each trait box holds common to epic traits. You can equip those traits onto your forever Pudgy, buy and sell the traits, play mini games with your friends. So this is actually what you receive in the box with your toy. You scan it, takes you to the website, and you create your forever Pudgy, which is your soulbound. And then the traits are tradable on polygons, as you can see here. You're minting it on the blockchain as a soulbound, and traits are tradable with Polygon on the marketplace of origin. And we already know they've teamed up with Retail Monster and PMI Toys to help get these into retailers across America. When we spoke to Elizabeth, who's the Pudgy holder on our show this week, she said that it looks like they have confirmed that they're going to be in Walmart and Target. They're already on Amazon, which is where we were all buying them at, which is a pretty big deal. And they've already killed it in sales without having been in retail. So looking forward to see that. They made it to the top, #1 release and play figure playsets, above Mario for the time being. And as you can see here, Luca, the founder, says, the plan is working. I'm playing chess, not checkers. So he's happy with the release. Shout out to Spencer, where he notes here that Luca stated that in the first 2 days, they sold over $500,000 worth of penguins on Amazon. It's over 20,000 individual penguin toys. That's not including, this has just been released in America on Amazon. So it's not including other countries. It's not including retail stores. Imagine what this number can get to once they release it all across their platforms in the world. So huge, in my opinion. And Eric, who owns and paid up for the Superman-looking Pudgy penguin, was one of the Pudgies that were licensed out for the toys. We'll be talking about that. Shout out to NFT Statistics for the illustration. But Guy here, the Pudgy, says that the licensing program for Pudgy penguin community and Pudgy penguin holders is getting simplified so it can be expanded. So the people who own the Pudgy that gets turned into a toy, they're going to be sharing that revenue with the original NFT holder. Not all the details are out for that, and like they said, they're trying to simplify that, but super exciting, and I think that's the way you win over your community. And he says, how does toys benefit all holders? Well, how does being financially independent and sustainable so that I don't need to squeeze liquidity out of my collectors with endless mints sound? Straightforward, but I love it. True. A lot of projects have gone that route and diluted their holders, or just have not brought them in and made them part of the process enough. And we've seen a lot of projects, floor prices reflect that hurt and that pain. And Pudgy has done the complete opposite. And I think they've done a great job of that, and the community's appreciated it. Now, I'm going to bring on a special guest. Her name is Elizabeth Gonzalez. She is an attorney by day and a Pudgy by every other time that she's spending time on Twitter, right? So she's going to join us today to talk a little bit more in depth about what happened with Pudgy's this week. She's been there for a while, so she's going to kind of give us the whole rundown from the beginning of Pudgy's, not all the way from mint, but long-term Pudgy holder, and just going to get it directly from somebody who's deep in that Pudgy penguin community. So thank you, Elizabeth, for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. Appreciate the invite.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're one of the most passionate Pudgies I know, so super glad you came on. But yeah, let's just start from the beginning. So you said earlier that you did not mint the Pudgy, but you've been there since Cole was still the owner of the project.
Yes, that's right. I got my first Pudgy probably a couple months before Luca took over. So a lot of the rioting, as we call it, was going on. The rumors of, new management, as we say, right? The acquisition from Luca. That was all crazy times, I would say a lot of people were disappointed by how the project was going, where it was going, and, not meeting certain expectations and promises that were made with the previous team. Mm-hmm. So kind of Luca came over and took over. Like, he was actually a holder, right? So he was one of the holders that were not satisfied with what was happening with the project. Sad, like it was dying out the way it was with the huge potential that it had. So kind of took matters to his own hands and bought it off for 750 ETH, I believe, is the exact number. So around $2 million for the whole project.
Wow. I remember hearing that, and I was just like, this is either going to be an incredible turnaround story or that was a horrible idea.
Yeah, I think they both got a good deal. Cole got his money, got out, and Luca, right now, he just had the last seed round of, I believe, $9 million. And if you look at the floor, how they're trading all the Pudgy collections, I believe if you value it, it's over $120-some million in valuation. So I think they both got a good deal out of it. And Luca has the biggest upside at this time, with everything that's happening and all the work they put in. So us as holders are pretty excited, pretty happy with what's been happening. So, yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so Luca bought it. He was a holder. He saw the potential. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Luca has a background in IP. So I believe that's kind of what helped him have the confidence to spend such a big amount of money on something that you don't know if you're going to see a return on.
Yeah, so I believe his strong background is e-commerce, right? So that's why this move with the Pudgies and the toys is such a big deal, because they do know how to move products. Him and Peter, which is his main business partner. So yeah, he has plenty of experience with products and even toys. They have that successful Gel Blaster. They kind of killed it at all retail stores. Well, first online, right? Amazon, and then retail stores you can see them anywhere, and Walmart, and even now for Christmas time, you can see they're all sold out. So he has that experience, and he left that role to kind of take over Pudgy full time, which is pretty amazing and shows the commitment and, how much he believes in the project and the potential it has. So for us, it's just more reassuring of where we're heading, and, it's intentional. It's not just some random person just buying it and see what happens. Let's pump the floor and, make us happy for a little bit, but it's more of a long-term, years to come project in his head, right? And the whole team's head. And even for some of us holders, it's not a quick flip, if that makes sense.
Sure, yeah. It seems like he was the perfect person to come into that role. So Pudgies are happy. Now, I should ask you this first. How did you become a Pudgy? Why is this the community you decided to join, as there's so many in Web3?
Yeah, so I believe Pudgy's probably one of my first NFT collections, to be honest. And to me, it was not a no-brainer. I have friends, I have mentors that were in it already and kind of talked to me about it. To me, the IP was not if you compare let's say a Bored Ape and a Pudgy, and not talking about the great things that both projects are building and doing, but just from the looks of the IP, I could connect more with a Pudgy than maybe a Bored Ape or some other different IP, in terms of it's more universal. So you see traits in some of these collections that might not connect with everyone. It would not connect with a kid. If your PFP has I don't know, a cigar, or I don't know, some random trait that doesn't make it appealable to everyone. So I saw Pudgy's as one that everybody could connect with, and it's more inclusive, in my opinion. So, and they're just cute. So I like them. Back then they were pretty cheap too. So it's like, you know what? I think they have a good upside. People were, like I said, rioting for some change to happen. So I did expect for change to come, and gladly I was right, and it happened. And then Luca took over, and it's been good ever since. But that's pretty much the reason. I literally just liked them and saw the potential they had. And obviously, like, there was also a lot of talk of like, oh, if we could get like a Club Penguin version with Pudgy Penguins. And I was like, you know, that's crazy, because like as a kid, I used to play Club Penguin at some point when I was like when I was a kid. So it's like, this is a possibility of something like that, like a community being built out, even like a fraction of what Club Penguin was for us growing up. I mean, it's a huge potential and you know, upside for anybody that, you know, joins the community and becomes a holder.
Yeah, I did see that Luca talked a little bit about that. He said that idea came from you guys in the community, so
Yeah.
It's really cool to see that. I just think he's an incredible leader in the space, and I think he really listens to y'all. My question is, I always wondered, like, we all know that everybody loves the Pudgy Penguin IP. Super cute, it's relatable. Who won't love a Pudgy? Let's be real, right? But what kind of people are in the community? Like, you know, each community has their own kind of vibe. Like, Artifact has, like, you know, fashionistas and 3D artists, and Bored Apes, you know, have people that want to build the IP or just degens. Like, what is happening over at the Pudgies? Is it really Pudgies is the project for builders? Has that always been the case? What's the case there?
I would say it is a project for builders, but really for everyone. Like, we have holders like in our community, even in our, you know, community chats, like on Twitter, not just Discord, but we have like kids, like 13, 14-year-old kids that are holders. And we also have people that are older and everything in between. And that's kind of like the key of it being appealable and relatable to everyone. That, you know, whether someone buys it thinking of their kid, or a kid buys it because they like it, you know, or it has that nostalgic effect for like some of us, like anybody could relate. And I think that's why our community is so diverse. There is a lot of builders. Like, when you look at the holders, and I know we've made a couple breakdowns of where some holders are at in the Web3 space. So if we're just talking about Web3, you know, from like Polygon, like any major Web3 company or project that you may think of, you're probably going to find a Pudgy in it. If they're builders, they're likely to have a Pudgy, because it is a builders community. And even though everybody's doing their own thing, they still connect with the Pudgies, and connecting with other builders is a big perk of being a holder. Like, I could literally get in touch with someone at Brave, for like whatever company it may be in Web3, because we do have that community, that diverse community in the space. And that's just talking about Web3 builders. But obviously, if you go farther than that, like, they have all these advisors in the board for Pudgy Penguins that come from Mattel or Hasbro or wherever you may think of. And so, yeah, I would say mainly builders. Everybody's doing their own thing, and we're able, and I'm happy that we get to connect no matter where we're at. Like, I'm an attorney, but, you know, I could talk with whoever from wherever, and we can still connect over that PFP, over that project, and who knows, like, build stuff together and complement each other in projects if we're going to go that route and collaborate. So I think it's a beautiful thing, yeah.
Wow. Who would have thought that Pudgy's the Pudgy Penguins is bringing builders together? I honestly wouldn't have thought at first, but like, you're right, it's appealing to all kinds of people. So thanks for that.
And if you think about it, like the project itself, right? So if you say when Luca took over, right? Like, most of the hires that we see today that are part of the official team, right? The official employees, or even before, when they weren't even getting paid because they wanted to bootstrap it, and now they're able to get paid, right? So they're technically employees now. But a lot of these hires came exactly from the community. Like, a lot of these developers, a lot of these media marketing, art people that are coming into the team officially to build up the brand, to build up the company, they came from the actual community, from the holders themselves. So just now we're seeing them hiring people from outside that ecosystem, whether it is like hiring Disney animators like they've done recently. But I would say like a big percentage of everybody working in the company and the brand, they're actually people hired within the community or that have, you know, provided their work, their expertise through by being a holder, really. That's how it started.
That's super interesting because now everybody's incentives are aligned. Everybody is working towards a similar mission that they're all a part of. So I think Lucas just really put on a master class of working with the community, listening to the community, and then kind of just giving them what they want. Talk to us a little bit about how he's including the community with the IP and the toys that are being released, and how is that connected?
Yeah, and I think this starts a little bit, like you said, like he talks with the community. And this one big thing that I think he implemented and has been key to the success that they've had so far has been the inner igloos, right? Like we mentioned them, oh, we're having inner igloo this Sunday, right? So most people don't know what it is, but it's literally, you would think of like a board meeting or something, but just for like the whole community to get together bi-weekly on Sundays, and we literally just bounce out ideas. Like the whole thing with the toys and having that digital experience, that idea came from an inner igloo from one of the holders. So a lot of these ideas that are being implemented now or even explored come from this inner igloos, and that's where I just came from. Now that that's what I told you, 5 more minutes and I'll be there, because we were having inner igloo today, and we have a couple more scheduled this week, but it's usually bi-weekly, and we meet with the team, with Luca himself. Like he bounced his ideas with us, and we're like, nah, we don't like that. And then we kind of, and then he's like, okay, let me shelve it. We're not gonna do anything with that. And it's a very collaborative. And he likes saying like he's the muscle, we're the brain. At the end of the day, just like any company, like he has to make decisions. He can't wait on however amount of holders to agree or disagree. But it does help in a way for him to narrow down those ideas, to get new ideas and get those implemented. So a lot of the things with the toys came out from those inner igloos, like the Berg now, as we call it, which is kind of like the world where the Pudgies will be at. Those are all initiatives that came from inner igloos. So that's just one way that he connects and collaborates with the community frequently and in a consistent manner. It's not like we hear him one month and not the next. It's something that happens literally every week or every other week.
Wow. Okay, I learned something new because I didn't know these were being held. And this is open.
Yeah.
This is token gated.
This is on this. Yeah, it's on Discord. If you own a big Pudgy or a little Pudgy, you have access to it.
Okay.
And yeah, you just join. Literally go up, speak to him, or share it in our chat. And have any questions, you ask them, and they'll be answered. Have ideas, give ideas. The community will respond to those ideas, whether in a good way or negative way, like they don't want it. Like, but that's the whole point. It's not about tearing ideas down or anything, but it's literally getting that sense of, you know, where's the community's mind at. And like I said, it's a lot of builders in the community. So a lot of smart people are in the community that come up with great ideas that we're seeing come to fruition now. So yeah, pretty cool.
Wow. I think what Lucas really hit perfectly is how to include the community and their ideas, make them happy, while simultaneously taking those ideas and executing them in a way that onboards people outside of the ecosystem as well. Would you agree?
I definitely agree, yeah.
Okay, awesome. And I think there's other projects doing it slightly differently and where it's really hurting them in the short term. People like Artifact or Doodles, right? When the whole Doodles things came out and they said, we're focused on onboarding. And it's like, okay, well, what about us? The people who just spent $5,000 or $10,000 on helping you bootstrap this thing. So I think a lot of the space can learn a lot from Luca here and the Pudgy community. So thanks for that. And can you just clear up, so some of the toys, or is it all the toys, are coming directly from the IP of the current holders and they're participating in the revenue sharing?
Yes. I don't know what the revenue share is. That's something that I don't know. I will know. Who knows? There isn't like what their contract is, but it is. Each Pudgy toy that you see come out is literally a holder's penguin. So they've been licensed through to the company, right? And they brought them to life. It's pretty cool, pretty crazy. But yeah, certain penguins were picked, and just to start, right? Because this is just a start. There's going to be other things down the road, like the new platform that's called Overpass. We don't know much about it yet, but it's going to be a way to enable more holders to be licensed, right? But for now, like this small group of penguins that we see come into toys, there are holders of penguins. They're not like Lucas Penguin or like any like team members only penguins. They're literally holders that license their penguin to the company, and now they're toys, and they're getting a revenue share of the sales. I don't know what that is, but yeah, they are.
That's absolutely incredible to me. I would be ecstatic if my NFT was picked, and just to see it come to life and seeing other people enjoy it and know that I own the IP. So, so since you're a lawyer, what does that look like in terms of like, the SEC and whether that becomes like a security? How do you look at that?
I think, and as an attorney too, that's kind of one of the things that brought me into the Pudgies. Like I see them doing a lot of things, right? Like they file their trademarks, they're filing, certain things to protect their company, to protect the brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to these,
do you provide them like legal advice as like a Pudgy?
I do not. I'm not a Pudgy attorney. No. I'm literally just a holder, a community member, and I enjoy it like that. But just thinking of it, with my just my legal side of things, I don't see it being right now like anybody, like there's licensing agreements every day for all kinds of things. Like that doesn't mean the SEC is going to come for you. And those are literally royalties. Like if you think about a song, artists are getting paid royalties every day for whatever their streams are or sales, right? So it's similar in that sense in the system, where it's like they're literally licensing your IP, and out of those profits, you're going to get a percentage. It's literally like a royalty. So I don't see any problems when it comes to like being a security for that. That's literally just a licensing agreement. It just happened to be an NFT. It just happened to be Web3 related. But if it were to be something different, where like you bring in like some sort of token, like money into the games, like that's different, and you might have to like tiptoe a little bit to explore that and develop that. But when it comes to the toys, like I have like no worries about that in terms of people coming down at them for that. And I know they have their own like great legal team that's been helping them navigate those things. So yeah, I'm not worried about that, at least with the toys, which is what we've seen so far. So
got it. Okay, awesome. Well, I'm super excited to see what happens here with the Pudgies. I think the news really shook the space. I know Luca says that his goal is to have a revenue stream outside of like diluting you guys and just having you guys continue to buy NFTs, and I think that's a big point here that we could talk about, is like he wants to create this new revenue stream in partnership with the holders, but so that he can also reward you guys with outside money, right? So what do you think about that?
I think it's amazing. Like he's not looking for liquidity out of the holders, right? So the more successful he is outside of, our community, our holders, right? Our Web3 brand, right? The more successful he is outside, the more revenue is going to come to the company, and eventually it's going to come to the holders, at least some percentage of it, whether it is having bigger capabilities to be able to license more penguins, right? Be able to get more deals done for that. So I think it's a great way to attack that issue in terms of not diluting what we have, but rather grow it, right? So I think it's a great way to approach it, instead of just minting like new collections or like doing all these random things to get money from the holders. I think it's more sustainable, and I think will be long term, will be more effective. So looking forward to see how it does, right? But for right now, it seems great, and we just got to see what those numbers look like outside of Web3. Yeah,
because even just now, the toys dropped a couple days ago. How much has been raised already? Do you know?
Well, the first day or 2 days was like $500,000 just from the Amazon, but we're thinking like this is just US, right? We haven't even touched international Asia. Like people are asking for them, right? Just for online. And just even the retails, right? It hasn't hit retail yet, and it will hit retail. So what happens when they're at Walmart or they're at Target, you know, like kids randomly just pick a Pudgy and tell their parents to buy it. So it'll be super interesting to see those numbers. And the IP helps, right? It's cute IP. We can see kids even not knowing what Pudgy penguins are. And just with the numbers, with the jiffies, right? With the GIFs.
Yeah.
You can see how appealable they are. People don't know what they are, but they're getting billions of views, right? Or uses and impressions. So the numbers are there. It's a matter of see how that execution looks like and what the results are. So
there's already deals signed with retailers. Do you know which ones?
I believe there's Walmart, Target. I don't know what other ones, but I know there's also like smaller stores that will be showing them. Like, for example, some people were able to get toys before all of us here in America and Australia, because a small store out there stocked before everyone else, and people were buying it there and shipping them. So I don't know what those distributors look like, but I know I believe Walmart and Target have been mentioned, and it makes total sense. Those are retailers that Luca had the connections to, at least the proximity to, in terms of like they've already dealt with them when it came to their previous products like Gel Blaster. So those are retailers that already have products that they've kind of launched previously. So it makes total sense why they will start there. But apparently like June or so, we'll see that happen. But for right now, the focus is Amazon for sure.
Wow. This is huge. 500,000 in a couple of days. I know there's a huge Pudgy community in Asia. There's the Asian Council, right?
Yeah, and Europe, like it hasn't touched Europe. People are like, when is it going to be available in Europe? And it's like soon, but yeah, so we'll see.
Wow, okay. I think besides Yuga, this is going to be like the first NFT project to create a revenue stream outside of just selling NFTs. So that's a big deal.
So too, yeah.
Well, congrats to the Pudgies, congrats to Luke and the team, and congrats to you, who you've been here through thick and thin with them. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, you know, the story in your program and in your show. So it's pretty cool to just share it. And a lot of these little things people don't know about. So it's cool to share with everyone. And, you know, it might interest someone to kind of take a deeper look at it, not just as a maybe NFT holder, but like the toys. Like people are buying the toys and seeing the digital experience, and they're pretty cool, right? You still get a Polygon NFT out of it. You still get a penguin out of those experiences. So it's super interesting to see what the next 6-12 months are going to look like for them. So excited.
Yeah, I can't wait to get mine in the mail and go through the whole onboarding process and have my forever Pudgy, right?
Yep, you're going to get your forever Pudgy.
Awesome. Cool. Well, again, thanks for coming on, and we look forward to spreading the message of the Pudgies.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
And also, there's an Asian council for Pudgies, and this Pudgy community is built different. Like I said, they haven't even started selling these in Asia. There's a whole Pudgy Asia Council that's ready to buy and ready to build a community out there. So love to see it. Even Free Lunch Capital, who we know from multiple times illustrating his buys on the show. He just bought the gold ape, and he just aped into Pudgy Penguins. He loved what he saw this week, and we know he's typically not the type of guy to flip and more of hold on to his convictions. And Pudgy Swap, which is a official peer-to-peer trading engine just for the Pudgy Penguin community, powered by Flip XYZ. So you can go on there, and enables the huddle to trade with their peers for both single asset, multi-assets, and there's no fees or royalties as of now. And they don't need to be Pudgy assets. You can trade with different ecosystem assets, and it's just for the Pudgy Penguin community. So huge news there. Can't talk about that enough, and I'm excited to go through that onboarding process when I receive my toy. And now let's jump into some NFT news. This is a pretty big deal. As we know, NFT and Web3 companies have been battling with Apple on the App Store to get their NFT purchases done. But it says here Origins has passed review with Apple and is now available on the App Store. We believe this is the first time that Apple has agreed to make an externally purchased NFT usable on the app. Holy shit. But stipulation is not in America. if you live in Argentina, Colombia, Peru, Mexico, a lot of the South American countries, some of the Asian countries, it's allowed. You can download the app. And the founder says for the first time ever, players can use their NFT axes that they purchased outside of the App Store in an application that is running in the App Store. So really love to see that. Other side, Yuga drops some more, just kind of breaks down a little bit more what's happening with Other Side and Legends of Mora. It's quite confusing. I'm not going to jump into all of it. You can go and read the thread where they break down the key strategic elements of the Legends of Mora, and they have high-level notes there. But they do note that Legends of the Mara will launch this summer. It's just the beginning. As we progress through Season 2 and beyond, the team plans to adapt and expand the game's mechanics offerings. So if you're involved, you should be getting ready for that, and just align yourself in the right way to win as much as you can once that gets released. Shout out to Sam Garcia, the 200,000 video contest from the Nouns proposal was just announced, and he was one of the winners for building a game with Noun assets and onboarding gaming developers. So congrats to him. Love to see it, and love to see Nouns continue to reward builders. Shout out to Azuki and Zagabond, where I believe Azuki and Pudgy Penguins really does an incredible job of building with their community. Some projects like to focus on onboarding the masses and kind of forget a little bit about who helped them get there. Examples, we saw that with Doodles a little bit, and their floor has been reflecting that. But Azuki and Pudgy's really take a different approach. They say, our holders are who we're going to optimize for the most, and then together we will onboard the masses. But that is not their primary focus. And as you can see here, the Azuki community is comprised of smaller communities within it, formed over a common interest in collecting traits, languages, and hobbies. So you can go to the new website, and there's over 42 communities for all kinds of things, as you can see here. And if you own an Azuki or a Bean, you can join the community right for you. So they're doubling down on that, and I think, honestly, it's a smart move. Awesome. Let's jump into some crypto news. We know that we've been battling with the SEC as a crypto industry, and especially Coinbase, but this week we got an answer. And the answer is, guess what? It's a maybe. I'm not even kidding. He says today the SEC responded to Coinbase's petition, asked the court to require the SEC to respond to just yes or no to whether it will undertake rulemaking for our industry. The answer from the SEC is a resounding maybe. Today's filing may be the first time when the SEC has formally explained in court its views on whether how the SEC should create rules for the crypto industry. The SEC told the court that rulemaking may take years, and they're not even in a rush. So you don't love to see it. This is not good, and this will continue to push builders overseas as it's already occurring. And the huge news in crypto this week is what happened with Ledger, which is the leading security company in crypto. And I honestly think it just really came down to horrible communications and also slightly misleading users from the offset of their flagship products. Real quick, I'll say they're doing an update, right? And it has a new product called Ledger Recover. And if you choose to subscribe to Ledger Recover, it encrypts a version of your private key. And remember, we have our private key and our seed phrase. Private key you can take to anywhere you want. You can take your private key from MetaMask and put it into Coinbase, and then you have all your assets now in a new wallet. It doesn't stay with the wallet, it stays with you as a user. And it splits it into 3 fragments. All of this happens on the secure element chip, so your secret recovery phrase is not at risk. Well, people did not like that. Okay. Quit, who's one of the GigaBrain devs in the space, where he says, I would have applauded this if it were a new Ledger product line. Introducing it as a feature of existing products feels like a bait and switch. We were lied to about our devices could and could not do. He says he has several of these Ledger devices, and he will continue to use the Nano S because, as Emmerich confirms here, that the founder said on Twitch that the Nano S has technical limitations, so the Nano S will stay untouched, which is the one I have as well, and I will continue to use that one, but probably not upgrade for now. I don't need to. Fubar really was one of the people shouting against this update and leading people to not do it, where he says, well, it was always obvious. If they could recover your seed phrase for you when you lost your ledger, then they can recover your seed phrase for when compelled by your government. when an insider of Ledger gets bribed or when the database gets hacked. Their privacy policy is absolutely ridiculous. Here's a chance they won't roll over and leak your private keys to the nearest government for signs of trouble. And he also says, well, Ledger does say it's opt-in. You don't have to use it. Well, this is a misdirection. A hardware wallet should have a secure enclave where the private key never leaves the device under any circumstance. But they've opened the APIs and they to send encrypted key shards to third parties on the internet, which exposes it to hacks and other things. And he also reminds us that this has actually happened previously with Ledger, where there's been data breaches, and also it's possible that Ledger can always leak private keys from the enclave with further firmware updates. So some thoughts from different gigabrains in the space that I wanted to share there. Also, I thought this was a pretty neutral take here. I like to read all sides of the perspectives. In the vast majority of cases and people, the odds of having the U.S. government compel the private key shard holding third parties or an attacker exploiting the API to reveal the key shards is an absolutely negligible probability compared to the mathematical certainty that you're going to lose your key at some point and need to recover it. That is a good point. It's better to have a hardware wallet than just keep all your funds in a MetaMask wallet, right? Even if you think the government can seize it from Ledger, the odds of that are so low, right? Or the hack is even very low. But if there's an alternative where you don't even have to worry about that, then why not, right? But the private key never leaves the device was Ledger's value prop. It seems the private key has always been capable of leaving the device with the right firmware, and that's been misleading from the start. That was part of Ledger's marketing, and people felt strong about that and why they were such supporters of Ledger. And I honestly believe that too. I remember buying my Ledger and reading that, and I thought, wow, damn, this is like my coins. Nobody can, no matter what, nobody could ever get access to them, and that was just misleading. Shout out to Punk for 156, where he states, for your info, if you're really security conscious, you can have a 2-3 safe setup consisting of one ledger, one Trezor, one Grid Plus. This way, you get redundancy, and no single hardware compromise can break you. So use a multi-sig. Safe is the one I used before. It's actually simpler than you think, than it sounds. I was actually, when I first opened it, I thought it was going to be a long process. It was very simple. You just connect the wallets, and then, the wallets that you want. It requires 2 of 3 to be able to get any access to the coins or NFTs. And that's probably your best bet if, like he said, you're security conscious. Shout out to OK Hotshot. He's been reporting on this quite well, where even the CEO of Ledger admits that, yes, a government could subpoena them and get access to your funds. And a little bit more details on Ledger Recover. What is it? Well, it's available in the App Store, mostly North America and Canada and Europe. It's a $10 a month subscription. It's insured up to $50,000, and it's only for Nano X. S Plus and Stacks is coming up later on. As you can see, Nano S is not listed. You have to enable the firmware update for that to happen, and you get a max of 3 recovery attempts per year. So I think this is good for most people, right? It makes it easier for normies. It provides them with a little bit of security. But again, for the crypto people that were promised self-sovereignty, that was not the case here. And I think they have a right to be angry about that. Also, Grid Plus, which is another security leader in the space, announced after this Ledger FUD that they will be open sourcing their firmware. So, cool to see that. Moving on to some other crypto news. Ripple acquires crypto custody firm Memecoins for $250 million. Looks like Ripple's trying to get deeper into the custody game here. And some other interesting news this week. Tether, who we talked about Tether last week when we went over their financials, which is still extremely opaque. They have not been audited or validated those numbers with really anybody, so kind of take that with a grain of salt. But they announced Tether will regularly allocate up to 15% of its net realized operating profit towards purchasing Bitcoin. This Bitcoin shall be considered on top of the minimum resources assets that is 100% backed one-to-one with Tether, which is what they promise. Nobody's proven that again. And I think DC Investor is asking the right questions. And he's getting a lot of FUD for it, but you can never be too safe in crypto. And he states, We are buying, mimicking Tether here, we are buying Bitcoin as an additional reserve for our stablecoin, which is 100% fully backed by USDC. This is just extra backing for no reason. Our books are not public, but trust us, we're using profits to buy the Bitcoin, not printable. I think it's prudent to ask these kinds of questions, especially the shit that we've gone through with FTX and all these other people, where we didn't ask enough questions, especially for a company who refuses to make their books public. You got to be skeptical. This is crypto. Moving on to some news by Decrypt, shout out to them, where they tell us here that after investing $15 million in blockchain in 2016 to overhaul the exchange, ASX has now officially axed any implementation of technology. Man, I remember going over this news a while back on the show and being excited that, like, wow, the largest stock exchange in Australia is looking to implement blockchain. Like, that's super bullish on the technology, and that's exciting. I like to see new use cases in the real world. But now, after 7 years of development, they are seizing that completely. As you can see here, and then certainly, this is what they stated, certainly we will need to use a more conventional technology than the original solution in order to achieve the business outcomes. So I guess after 7 years, investing tons of money, $170 million is the pre-tax loss of roughly $170 million, they are abandoning the blockchain initiative. And I guess that's not the best solution for them, which I wonder why. I'm really interested to see why blockchain was not the right fit for that, as a lot of people think that blockchain could be a great replacement to some of the technology that is used for stock exchanges today. Also, just in by Watcher.Guru, Texas Senate passes bill requiring crypto exchanges to provide proof of resources, which I think is understandable after what happened with FTX and everything. You never know, but it's strict rules, right? Banks don't need to prove this stuff. It's kind of what we had coming for us after the whole saga of FTX and all the things that happened. Stricter rules were going to come, and exchanges should have nothing to hide, and everything should be backed one-to-one with customers' money. So I think that's a fair bill. And also, speaking of exchanges, the governor of Indonesia, he says we're now preparing a trading exchange for Bitcoin. So you love to see that. And also, we talked about it last week. What happened with Ethereum? Did it break? Did it not? We had only a bit of information last week, but Ethereum came out and we got some clarification. So let's cover that here, where it says the problem stemmed from two contested clients, including one of the leading ones, Prism, where they were just spending too much computing resources on processing mostly worthless block attestations, a part of the proof of stake contested mechanism. And a sharp increase in new validators requesting to join the Beacon chain since the start of May has pushed ETH staked net of withdrawals up about 1.3 million to a total of 20.5 million. $37 billion worth of USD on-chain data, and that caused the queue to lengthen to join the network by nearly 60,000 validators, meaning a new validator requesting to join today will not be active until sometime in late June. So, said further, when the Beacon state was smaller, Prism was able to handle these attestations and recover appropriately. However, with the large spike in deposits and the growing validator registry size due to the merge, Prism was unable to recover this time. But they said that the bug was squashed. The Prism client now ignores attestations of old blocks, which the report says are generally of no value to the network anyways. Client Teku also implemented a similar fix last week. So we got a little bit of clarification as to what happened with Ethereum here. And hopefully they were able to learn from this and we don't have this sort of issue with Ethereum in the future. All right, I'm going to add a new segment here to the show, Copy Pasta of the Week. What would you want in the Copy Pasta Museum? Send it to us. We'd love to hear it. As you know, we're working on the Copy Pasta Museum ourselves. And this is it. And all of the Luis visuals where he said, I bought 1 ETH and I got 16 coins, talking about Zyop coins by Ben.eth. My 1 ETH is now worth 0.00001. Dude, why? Can anything be done? That people had a contest with him on that because they just get copy pasting that under that comment because we all know there's no customer service on the blockchain. So can anything be done? Is the obvious answer is no. But from now on, if anything happens on the blockchain, I'm just gonna say can anything be done. Shout out to Luis Visuals for the copy pasta of the week. And that is all we got for you guys. Shout out to Innerspace Orlando and Web3 CFL. I'm your host, Serpunk, and I will see you guys next week for another episode of Web3 Weekly Alpha. Like, subscribe, and I'm out. Peace.
Started off with a bit, now I got coin. I see where y'all going. Been poppin' since Web 1. Hella hoes on Web 2. I was living a dream. Now I'm on Web 3. And it is what it seems. Topping the pyramid schemes, I'm telling you. I'll sell you a percentage on Nebula. Shout out to Viz.